Hey, welcome to the CrossPoints podcast. I am so glad that you guys are joining us today. I have a tremendous guest that's with us today. Super excited about this. Russ Tuttle is the founder of the organization called the Stop Trafficking Project.
Correct, yes.
So, Russ, why don't you tell us, first of all, I was put a red X on my hand. What in the world is all this about? And tell us a little bit about the Stop Trafficking Project.
So today is National End It Day, and it's not just national, it's international now. Several
really?
abolitionist movements have all kind of come together, and there's a
Okay.
couple key organizations that started just a simple thing. If you want to draw attention to this horrific crisis of human trafficking on a global scale,
Yep.
and then kind of funnel that down to local issues of how that works too.
Right.
So tens of thousands of people all over the world are wearing this, and they're
Putting the red
posting it
X on there.
as a sign of solidarity that we are going to work together collaboratively
That's awesome.
under one united effort to end human trafficking on a global scale and local scale.
Wow. Okay. Well, I tell you what, we will get a photo together and
Yeah,
we'll
sounds
post
good.
it on our Instagram and
That'd be
Facebook
great.
account. That'd be great. Hey, so Russ, why don't you tell us just a little bit about human trafficking, the sex trafficking problem that's here, particularly in Kansas City, and kind of your role in that?
Sure. So most people think of this issue of human trafficking as a problem for exotic countries over there.
Oh, absolutely.
So my background is I'm a missionary kid, grew up in the country of India. So I have that perspective of understanding what human trafficking looks like in an exotic country over there.
Right.
So most people think, especially when it comes to sex trafficking and especially sex trafficking of children, that we feel really bad about that. There's kids being hurt over there, India, Cambodia, Thailand.
Yeah.
And so you can find an organization, write $25, $50 check, and you kind of do your part. And that's good. That's all. That's all fine.
Right.
The next level where most adults kind of land is we feel really bad because we know there's kids coming across the southern border.
Right.
And horrible things are happening to them.
Right.
And we wish there was something we could do about that, but we really feel like our hands are tied, so we're just going to kind of rely on government and all kinds of take care of that. And so all of that's true. There are horrific things happening to kids coming across the border.
Sure.
So that's kind of where it ends.
Okay.
Most people in Kansas City don't want to stop and think about a reality, what we call domestic minor sex trafficking, which is American kids protected by American law who are in our churches, in our schools, play on our soccer teams, on our volleyball teams.
Yeah.
They're in our spelling bees, and we don't stop to think that they are actually being targeted as the victims as well.
Okay, so just rewind just a second because you just said a whole lot there. What was that again? Say that again. You talked about these kids that are here, kids that we know.
They go to our schools, that are in our churches, and play on all of our teams, in our community. They're our kids, and they're being targeted.
Wow.
And the challenge comes is one of the ways to unpack this so that there's a comfort level that pushes us to action where we would never be comfortable with this activity, but comfortable enough to talk about it, comes around three words. We have to unpack the exploitation of vulnerability. Because here's how the honestly dark, demonic world of sex trafficking operates. There's this deep foundation of depravity that's feeding something like this. Our kids are increasingly vulnerable to these kind of activities, just out of naivete. So one of the things we like to tell kids in school assemblies is we unpack for them the science of the brain, the neuroscience of the brain. So it's beyond me, but what I'm told is that the human vortex in your brain is not fully developed until you're around 25 years old.
We see this with kids that do all kinds of crazy things, right?
So one of the fun messages we do in school student assemblies, which over 50-some thousand students now.
Hold on, 50. You guys have done 50,000. Worked with 50,000 students.
Over 50,000.
Over 50,000. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So one of the fun things that we do in an assembly is we'll have them turn to each other and look each other in the eye with compassion and go, "You're just a half brain." and
hold it, staring to that right there.
So if you're under 25,
let's clarify
you're just a half brain. Okay, so
that's great.
So it's not a derogatory.
No.
You're
just not fully mature and developed.
It's a fun way to unpack how God's actually designed the brain to work. You're still growing in a lot of different ways, including your brain. So what happens is there, unfortunately, when it comes to this issue of domestic minor sex trafficking, which is our kids, there are predators out there.
So I want to stop for a second. So this, again, brings it into, it's not happening out there.
And it is
No,
happening out there,
I'm sorry.
but
Yeah,
we
it's
have
not
to-
just happening out there. Not just
that's right.
Cambodia or Thailand
Yep.
or Vietnam or whatever. It's happening here.
Yep.
Okay.
To our kids.
Right. They're being targeted, is what you're saying.
Yep.
Okay.
So these predators are understanding that kids are very, very gullible because they understand this half-brain stage of life.
Right. Okay.
And so they are preying on that for very depraved reasons.
Okay.
One of the challenges of why this is happening has to do with the issue of pornography, honestly.
Right. Okay.
So people ask me all the time, so Russ, how many kids are really being victimized right now, and how many kids are really vulnerable to this? And so when you go to law enforcement that we work with on the federal and local level and county levels, you work with prosecutors, the numbers are disheartening.
Okay.
But what's completely devastating are the numbers that we know about demand. People wanting to actually harm kids.
Okay.
So a couple anecdotes I'm at liberty to talk about because we have to be a little bit careful with recent things within the FBI and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So one of them goes back to 2009.
Okay.
They ran a sting operation to where there were
Was this here in Kansas City?
in the Kansas City area.
Okay, I want to make that clear.
There
Okay.
were no kids being harmed. There were no kids being advertised. But what they did was they ran decoy ads online.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Advertising, hey, and they made it very specific. There are young girls for sex.
Okay.
And had 500 phone calls in the first 24 hours.
500.
500. Now jump to 2013.
Okay.
Arizona State University conducted similar research in 15 cities across America, and Kansas City was one of the 15.
Okay.
Very complicated study. Again, ran decoy ads online.
Right.
No kids for harm.
Right.
Not the issue. Decoy ads, advertising, making sure that this was very clear. We're selling people for sex.
Right.
They found through the analytics that they were able to run, they were able to track, did you call from a phone? Did you text? Did you do this from a laptop? Was it from an iPad? Was it from your phone?
This is a very specific study.
And they found 14.5% of the male population over the age of 18 was not online looking at pornography. They were online looking to potentially purchase sex. So that
is hard to take in.
That number represents over 106,000 men.
Wow.
So you let that sink in.
Yeah.
And the target is our kids.
Right. Here
in
the United States and Kansas City in
that
particular.
was just specific to Kansas City.
Right.
So it speaks to demand.
Yeah.
So what happens is these guys, one of the reasons why we need to end it is we need to help our kids understand, number one, that they're targets, but we do it in a way that you can't scare them and freak them out.
Yeah.
But you don't live in fear, you live wise.
Right. That's really good.
Because
it would be easy to scare kids.
And parents.
Yeah, I'll raise both my hands. Yeah.
So a lot of times when we do presentations to adults about this issue, they're ready to just go home and take cell phones away and shut down. And
we're going to live like in the 1880s.
That's right, and that's not even realistic in our culture anymore.
Right, sure.
Now there are balances there, and every family has to deal with this differently.
Right.
But what we're finding is that when you listen, God promises to give us wisdom when we ask for it.
Absolutely.
And whether we're in a spiritual setting to where we have this level of understanding, or it's a very secular to go, this is just horrible, and we have no spiritual foundation in that context of how to explain this, the message is the same. Use wisdom.
Right.
So what happens is there are predators out there who understand that our kids are half-brains.
Okay.
And so where are kids more vulnerable than any place? Right. Okay, you're going to target them online.
Absolutely.
So what we are told by the National Center of Sexual Exploitation out of Washington, D.C., they study this stuff. So they're telling us now the average age of first-time exposure to pornography is around the age of 8.
I've heard that stat. It still just boggles my brain.
It's painful. So take it between the age of 8 to 11,
right,
where the majority that happens. And so how is this happening? Well, there are some porn sites that we've been studying, not the content, but their analytics. They post their own analytics. So one of them is called Pornhub.
Okay.
In fact, go on to, you want to know what you can do right now to help end it?
Yeah.
Go to our website, stoptraffickingproject.com.
Okay.
And then link to our Facebook page from there. Or you can just go straight to Facebook. Okay. We are actually putting a petition out there. We are trying to shut down a porn site called Pornhub.
Really?
Pornhub in 2018 had 33.5 billion visitors, one porn site. That number jumped from 33.5 billion in 2018 to 42 billion last year.
Those are numbers are just, hard to take in.
And what they have found, Layla Micklewade out of Exodus Cry has done extensive research and has found literal situations on there that qualify as absolute rape that's being broadcast, other horrific things. And so here's the challenge. Okay, now back up from that. So go online and sign that petition. You can help. It's one small thing you can do.
Okay. So say this website again, and we'll link it in the description as well.
StopTraffickingProject.com.
Okay.
And up in the upper right-hand corner is links to social media.
Great. I want everyone to go do that. Seriously, if you're part of CrossPoints, listen to this podcast, please go do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you don't want to go to the website first, just go. If you're on Facebook already, just type in Stop Trafficking Project and scroll down a little bit, and that will be there. And the reason why this is so important, because we have to understand the roots of what's driving kids being potential victims of sex trafficking is that pornography is the engine driving this.
Right, absolutely. Okay.
So how do you explain 107,000 men, almost, in Kansas City online willing to potentially purchase sex? Well, so that you don't just wake up and do that someday.
Right.
So it's the progression of the degrading levels of pornography to take you from one aspect to the next. Now think through our kids.
Right.
If the average age, as they're viewing this for the first time, is between the ages of 8 and 11, we've already established the science of the brain that they're half brains.
Right.
Now you add in this level of activity, the dopamine release in the brain, all the other chemicals, the feel-good igniters. Kids are already curious. And now 76% of all pornography is viewed through a smartphone.
Right. Which is right in their hands almost 24 hours a day.
That we are giving our kids at younger and younger ages unsupervised by adults.
Right.
So now what happens is predators understand this better than all of us collectively. They understand these three words, exploitation and vulnerability. And so they're looking for vulnerabilities in kids to exploit through what they're doing online. And so our kids are going online and they're having fun on there. And there's great tools on there. We're not against technology.
Sure.
Technology itself is not the enemy.
Right.
But it's creating tremendous complexities in the lives of our students and our schools and our churches and our families.
And I think that makes sense for most parents.
It does.
Like, I think they understand that. But I think the issue is like, okay, how do I manage and deal with that? And that's the more complex question.
That is complex. And so part of the answer is you don't have to be an expert in technology.
Okay, this is good. Yeah.
You have to be an expert in your kid.
Right.
And understand what's the vulnerability in my kid.
Yeah.
And the kids that I care about, whether that's in my community that could be my immediate family, that could be my neighbors, that could extend to our church family here at CrossPoints, that can extend to our school communities, it may be your Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, soccer teams, volleyball teams, basketball, those kids within that, what are the vulnerabilities that can be exploited? And you don't have to be an expert in the technology, be an expert in your kids and understand the role that it plays in exploiting their vulnerabilities.
Yeah. In other words, you're trying to tell people, don't live life like this.
And don't live life so freaked out that my kid's about to be sold for sex.
Right.
It is not about that. It's about identifying that vulnerability, because the patterns with the kids who have fallen victim to this, 100% of the kids that we've had immediate contact with who are victims of sex trafficking that are American kids, 100% of them, their vulnerabilities were initially exposed online.
Right.
And it wasn't from a stranger initially.
Oh, now that's interesting.
It started with, we're just doing dumb stuff online with friends.
Wow.
Because we're half brains. And it's not a derogatory thing.
No. Right, yeah.
So then what happens is because there are predators out there who understand this thing, it's easy to go online and find a kid. So now we've got kids doing, hey, look at me taking my selfie. Right. And the girl's got to get the 333 selfies later with the little pucker lips. They get the perfect shot that they'll finally send.
Exactly.
Okay, that's one fun aspect.
Okay.
Then we got kids going, my mom really ticked me off today.
Right.
And I hate math.
Yeah.
Okay, kids are talking. But now we get into issues of kids are talking about issues of loneliness.
Oh, yeah, this is really big. It's true.
And this is the most connected generation we've ever had on planet Earth.
Right.
Kids 12th grade under literally don't know what it's like to live without technology.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a bad thing.
No. It's just the reality.
But immediately connected.
Right.
And we've also found this generation is one of the loneliest ever. So they're talking about issues of loneliness.
Right.
in isolation and depression, which is up 40% on a national level in the last 7 years. Kids dying by suicide is up 20% on a national level in the last 7 years. The issues of cyberbullying. What a lot of parents don't realize, kids are crying for attention. Our good kids are looking for attention online. And so kids have their account, and then they have their fake account. Where they can really kind of put it out there. If you're a predator who understands that there is high demand to harm kids in unthinkable ways, you don't have to wander the mall looking for them. They do sometimes.
Sure.
You don't have to hang out at a Starbucks. They do sometimes. You don't have to look for a kid at the zoo or the movie theater. They do sometimes. Where they're most vulnerable is what they're doing online.
Okay, so let me stop you just for a second, because I think what's going through my mind and probably some of the minds of the parents out there is like, okay, so some stuff happens online. I could never see my kid have something happen in the real world. And so you have any anecdotes or stories?
How does that transfer?
Yeah, how does that transfer? Because, man, okay, so my kids are kind of a little bit vulnerable online. Okay.
Unfortunately, I have too many stories.
Okay.
So let's just unpack what's happened in the last 3 weeks.
Okay. So these are recent stories you're going to share.
Last 3 weeks.
3 weeks, okay.
Yeah, school assemblies.
Okay.
Girl walks up to me and she says, "Do you like my sweatshirt?" This is the end of a presentation. So
Okay.
I like your sweatshirt a lot.
Okay.
She goes, "My best friend gave it to me." I said, "Well, she must be a really great friend." She said, "Actually, she's dead." And I said, "Well, sweetheart, what happened?" Now gentle tears start to fall down her face. And she says, "Well," she said, "my best friend died by suicide 2 weeks ago." She said, "And we've already had her funeral on Saturday." And she said, "And on Monday, I got a package in the mail with the sweatshirt and a letter from my friend." She said, "My friend in the letter apologized for dying by suicide, but explained why." So, David, I've heard this story too many times.
Okay.
The girl found somebody online that she met through a friend of a friend.
Okay.
He was very enticing, and this online relationship continued to the point to where it went to a point it goes far too often.
Okay.
"You're so beautiful. You're so amazing. I have to see you." By "have to see you" means I need a hot pic. That means take your clothes off, send me a naked picture. So she falls. "I promise I'm not going to share it with anybody."
Is what this guy or whoever is saying. They all say
They always share the pictures. Always.
But when you have a half brain,
When you're a half brain,
and you're also looking for affirmation that you're not maybe getting elsewhere, even.
And he's talking to her about her issues of loneliness and isolation and depression and suicide ideation and being bullied online. And I'm going to make your life amazing. So she fell for it. So she sends the picture. So she unpacks in this letter that she fell for this. And then, of course, what happened? He shares the pictures and then began demanding more. And what happened was he shared them. And then now we have multiple, mostly adult, some female predators now into her social media world demanding more. Asking more pictures. And if you don't take this picture, I'm going to make you famous with the one you've already sent. So the half-brain's not connecting that they've already seen her pictures.
Right.
And so what I find kids do is instead of going to trusted adults, it's one of the primary messages that we give.
Okay.
That's why we have to develop communities of trusted adults that our kids can go through and look in the eye like we're doing right now and just go, "Hey, here's what I'm going through. I made a mistake."
Right.
This girl didn't do that.
Because she was so fearful.
Fearful.
Okay.
And now body shaming's happening online. People making fun of her now. Other people seeing her pictures. Right. And so what happened? Then in the letter, she explained, I felt like there was no other option. So please forgive me. Then she wrote this, David. And now this girl, she's kind of hugging her arms like this, trying to be close to her friend because this is the sweatshirt she's given her.
I can totally
the
understand.
amazing hoodie.
Yeah, for sure.
And she says she's literally started shaking and she's big tears. And she says, "My friend then wrote in the letter, she said, please forgive me, but I gave the people online your name as another girl who might be willing to take her clothes off." So, can't happen to my kid.
I don't even know what to say to that.
Yeah. I was in a local school here, not too far, Kansas City, just a couple weeks ago. And so they didn't have school on the Friday.
Okay.
Teacher, parent, something.
Sure.
So it was a Thursday afternoon, last assembly of the day. And Everybody knew 3-day weekends come up, so it was essentially the weekend.
Right.
This girl was always the last one in line.
Okay.
Kids lined up to talk to me, tell me their stories. A little 6th grade boy walked up to me.
6th grade boy.
6th grade boy.
Okay.
His voice hasn't changed yet.
Mm-hmm.
He's trembling like a leaf, looking down. I know what he's going to say. I just know. You do this with kids all the time. I said,
over 50,000 kids you've got.
I got down. I said, buddy, there's no shame here with me, man. Look me in the eye. I need to talk to you.
Right.
What's going on? I already knew. So he says to me in this tiny little voice, he says, I don't know if you've heard of it, but have you heard of this thing called Pornhub? I'm addicted. It feels like my brain is on fire. Get him some help. There's an amazing coach there, a man.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome story. But now there's this girl standing there. She kept being the last one in line.
Okay.
She walks up and she says, I need to tell you something. I said, you can tell me anything, but you need to know I'm a mandated reporter, and what that means, if you tell me something where you're in danger, we're going to have to get you some help. She goes, good. And she said this. She says, I wrote my note, and it's in my dresser. I'm going to die by suicide Saturday at 9:30 in the morning. I've got it all planned out. This is Thursday afternoon, and we already know there's not going to be any school on Friday.
Right.
Well, sweetheart, why are you doing this? And so she rolls up her sleeves and shows me all the cuts on her arms.
Right.
This is the only level of pain she can control.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, why are you doing this? She said, I met this guy online, everything you just talked about in the assembly. She said, that's my story. How'd you know my story?
It was like you read her mail.
I said, sweetheart, it's not your story, but
yeah.
David, this is the common pattern. Not my kid.
Right.
Okay. What an honor. One of the most humbling. See, it is the most humbling thing. It's heart-wrenching. It's devastating when kids come tell these. But what an honor to be there in that moment for that kid, and to have trusted adults waiting in the wings to say, sweetheart, I need you to talk to my friend over here.
Right.
She's a trauma-informed counselor. This person's part of law enforcement. Whatever the need is, to say, here you go. We need to talk. These people who are preying on our kids are looking for kids who are talking about these issues.
Right. Again, it goes back to your vulnerability.
It is all about exploiting the vulnerability. So one of the things that we have to happen within those 3 words, the exploitation of vulnerability, for communities of trusted adults, that's part of where the answer is.
Okay.
Anything and everything we can do to identify the vulnerabilities in our kids before it leads to the next vulnerability. That's going to lead to the next one. That's going to then lead to some kind of exploitation that, unfortunately, in our hyper-sexualized culture today, is leading to some kind of sexual exploitation of our kids, typically a lot of times online.
Right.
And then our kids, if they don't have a trusted adult to go to, where they can look in the eye and know that adult's not going to come down on them.
Exactly.
There's no shame here. You made a mistake, because we have an understanding as adults they're half brains, and it's not a derogatory thing. Right? Sometimes as adults we go, these kids these days, I can't believe what these kids these days are doing. Okay, well, you did it too, but most of us adults then didn't have these devices to complicate this.
Correct.
And so these predators online are hoping that communities of adults will remain silent about this, and that kids will be silent about this. It's in our silence where they thrive.
Okay, Russ, I'm going to stop you right there.
Okay.
And we're going to bring you back on for next week, because I want to continue to engage in this conversation and shift the conversation to, okay, now what do we do? What do we do about this as parents, as adults, to become that trusted voice in the lives of our young people so that they're not vulnerable? I just think this is so important that we need to kind of do a 2-part of this. So
let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. So, hey, today for sure, let's make sure let's talk about this one more time.
We could end it together. So one of the immediate steps I need you to take is go to our website, stoptraffickingproject.com. In the upper right-hand corner, you can link to Facebook. And if you're already on Facebook, just go there, type in the search Stop Trafficking Project.
Wonderful. And
it'll bring up our page, and there is a link to sign a petition to shut down Pornhub.
Yes, let's do it. We'll link it in the description. We'll see you next week.